All right. Looks like everybody can hear us. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We're really excited about today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. Today on our webinar, we are excited and honored to have Jessica Beck and Jen Fry from Prosper U. So they're going to be telling us a little bit about Prosper U, their free curriculum, and how their courses will benefit students immediately as they go back to the salon training floor and into perpetuity as they begin their careers post-graduation. I know that I personally know Jessica and Jen and all the good people at Prosper U. We've known them for many years. And so we're so excited to be partnering with them and have them on today's webinar. And so just a little bit about Prosper U. They're located in the heart of America, good old Wichita, Kansas. Prosper U is a business education company for beauty schools offering programs for cosmetology, barbering, aesthetics, massage, and nail programs. They were founded and they're led by business expert and salon and school owner Eric Fisher. With Prosper U, your students will learn real-world, proven-to-work techniques for a lifelong career. After our friends at Prosper U, we're going to hear from Parker Dickens from Oozle Media and Beauty as a Business. He's going to be showing all of us how we can leverage partners like us to get distance learning up and running quickly, showing you the tools and how these lessons can support your instructors and helping school owners navigate getting their students' hours to count. At the conclusion of the presentations, we will use a little bit of time to answer a few pressing questions. And any questions we are unable to answer, we will follow up with an email after the webinar. A replay of this webinar, along with any slides and the contact information of our guests, will be available on our website later today or early tomorrow. I always want to encourage participation in webinars, so we all have that chat available to us. If you have any questions, please type in your question in the chat. And at the end, we will get to all. We're going to have a Q&A. We're going to get to all the questions. If you have any comments, we want to hear them. This is a community, and we can all benefit each other by our participation and letting everybody else know what you have going on in your school as far as when it comes to distance learning, especially this free content that we're giving everybody. So having said all of that, I am now going to turn it over to our friends, Jess and Jen at Prosper U. Make sure you guys unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi, we can see you.
Thank you, Chris. We're really excited to be here today and to get a chance to share this information with all of you. So I'm going to talk for a minute just about what Prosper U is a little bit more. So what we do, we help teach the soft skills that it takes to help build that relationship with our guests so that they keep coming back. But we also have systems and scripts that help teach them the business side so that they can grow their business and maintain and have a long-lasting career in this industry. We really focus on how to attract, maximize, and retain your guests. We know right now, this climate that we're all living in, it's something that we're having to learn how to navigate through right now. So we are just really grateful to have this opportunity to work with Oozle Media and Beauty as a Business to kind of do our part to help.
And so what we're actually offering are 2 courses for your schools. As Jen mentioned, we focus more so on the soft skills and the business skills. So the first course that we're offering is Culture. And through that course, your students are going to learn some culture basics of how to positively influence their culture, the importance of looking and feeling your best, and how your appearance really kind of helps dictate the type of clientele that you're going to have or not have. Some etiquette guidelines. I know that students don't always learn those at home or in school anymore. So really even things like saying thank you and my pleasure, some legendary customer service. A lot of our students have never experienced what customer service really looks like or great customer service looks like. So we need to set the standard for them. And then finally, how to handle upset customers. So while we can do everything possible to try to provide a great experience, that's not to say that everybody is going to be happy. But how we actually handle those situations plays a big role in whether or not that client is going to trust us and come back to us. So our students need to know how to understand and handle clients who aren't happy with their end results. The second course that we're offering is Impacting Your Numbers. This is the business side of it. So the first lesson is all about financial goal setting. What numbers should we be looking for? What kind of goals should we be setting as we are in school and even after school? And then how can we actually impact those goals that we're setting? How can we achieve them? And those are going to be through things like increasing our average ticket with add-on services, actually going out and gaining a clientele ourselves. We don't want students to sit back and wait for the school or their employer to bring clients to them. We want them to take ownership of their success because they're the ones who are really in control of it. Also, how to pre-book clients to get them in more often, so that way they can secure their financial future. They know how much money they're going to be making. And then finally, retail, making sure that we're talking about the tools and the products and we're educating on it and that we're offering products to every guest when they leave, not just those that we think are interested or those that we think can afford it, but to every single person who comes in. And with this information, it's really an opportunity for your students to grow in their skills. And really this time right now of distance education is a time that we're really excited that schools are starting to embrace the opportunities available through things like your other partner companies, through Oozle and Beauty as a Business and Prosper You, to grow our students, to grow their skills beyond just what we already offer them in their classroom right now.
So we really want to give information right now to help keep their passion ignited while they're at home, but also have something to bring back and use when they're back at school and then back out on their own. So something I definitely suggest, have your instructors go through the program too. That way they can kind of put a plan in place on how to use this information. We want the students to continue practicing it so they don't lose what they've learned. Ways that you can do that are work with your product vendors, find out what education they offer. The better the students know, the more they know about the products, the more comfortable they're going to feel about talking about them. Make sure they take up 3 products to guest services with every guest. We want to make sure we're selling retail. Another thing they can do is continue to grow their social media. So like what Beauty as a Business talks about, they talk about how to take great photos. So find the best place in your school to do something like that. Also help the students be more confident in their pre-booking. The more we pre-book our guests, the more often they're going to come back. So we want to make sure that you keep your chairs filled all of the time. And if you guys find that your students really like this information or you really like this information, we have other things available to help you out if you decide you want to continue it on. So you can feel free to reach out and we can definitely give you more information.
And then the final kind of bits of information that we have for you are just 3 quick tips to help you build a healthy online community. And I really want to point out that I used the word community, not communication, because communication is something that's a one-way street. It's just us sharing information with our students, which isn't a bad thing. But right now with distance education and how everything looks, our students are craving that interaction. They're craving, social time that they may not be able to have if they're at stay-at-home orders. So the very first thing is to create virtual environments. So things like Zoom or Google Hangouts, you could do some larger FaceTime calls, whatever option you want to use. Find ways to connect face-to-face with your students. They want to see you, they want to see each other, really build that community as a way to either share information, host a class on Zoom, or even just check in with your students and see how they're doing during this time, because everybody's going to be experiencing it in different ways. The second thing is to create online engagement. Now, if you have platforms like Milady's MindTap or Pivot Point's Lab, your students are posting their work in there as they're going through this digitally, but make sure that you're engaging with them in whatever way possible, whether you can comment on what they're sharing, you can like it, maybe you can give shout outs on there. But the other thing is, if your students are working on their social media, they're out there, they're sharing how-to tips, they're sharing product knowledge, whatever the case may be, if there are assignments that they could be sharing what they're doing on social media, and you have a professional account with your school, go on there and follow your students, like what they're doing, comment on what they're doing, let them know that you see them, let them know that they're recognized, that you know what they're doing and you know the hard work that they're putting into it. And then the final tip is just try not to start anything that you don't plan on continuing afterwards. Now, the exception to that could be the Zoom calls. Once we're back in the classroom, we don't need to have those virtual classes anymore because we can have in-person classes. But if you're, engaging with them on social media or engaging with them on your learning platform, those are things that you should still continue afterwards. You should still recognize your students outside of the four walls of your building whenever possible. So that's kind of the information, that little bit that we have for our specific information, as well as some tips for you for distance education.
Thank you so much, guys. That is such useful, such awesome information. Really great curriculum. I'm going to mention this and talk about it a little bit later in some of the slides that I wanted to share. But for those of you that are already using some of Beauty as a Business's free courses that we put out last week, if it wasn't clear, Prosper U has graciously added 10 hours to our LMS, so you can still get through Beauty as a Business. It is Prosper U's courses that they were going through, and I'll talk about how you can get those and some of the things that we're doing to help support you as schools and your students as well. Because, one of the big things that we're noticing right now, well, everyone's noticing is going through, it's just the unprecedented times that we're in. If any of you were able to join David Smith's webinar yesterday, one of the great points that he made is nobody's got a playbook for how to tackle this. No beauty school's ever gone through a pandemic that's shut them down, and they've had to use technology to continue their courses and make some of the decisions that they're making. And, sometimes it's not necessarily compliant to advertise beauty schools as a hands-on learning experience, but ultimately a lot of the trades, including becoming a cosmetologist, esthetician, or nail tech, are hands-on experiences. And the problem we're facing now is, how do we take that hands-on experience, how do we take that education and make it available virtually, make the distance learning available to your students in a way that's going to actually be beneficial. I think this is probably one of those industries that will never be learned all online or from the comfort of one's home. I think the unique and personal nature of the industry is what makes it such a great future-proof career. I think it's becoming a cosmetologist, going to the beauty industry is unlikely to be phased by automation anytime soon. I don't envision myself getting a haircut from a robot and having it turn out the way that I wanted, anytime in the future. And that's where, in times where we do have economic downturns where, that's potentially one of the things that we're going to be facing here in the next few weeks or months if this continues onward, is an economic downturn. We've seen that one of the fortunate for our industry's benefits is it's fairly recession proof. So one of the facts that I wanted to share with you that I found was that in 2009, there were 14% more salons and 19% more barbershops in the US. After that, the housing crisis that we had around that time frame, there were more jobs, there were more businesses, and it was thriving. And we've already seen, some of you may have seen an email come from one of us already about just search volume going up for best beauty schools near me, career changes, things like that are becoming more popular. So even early on into this pandemic, we're already seeing people looking at the possibilities of going into beauty school. And the problem that you're facing now probably as business owners is, how do you enroll them into this distance learning? How do you make sure that it's up and running? So we know, that ultimately trade schools and beauty schools in particular are likely going to be okay. Like Dave said on his webinar, there's actually an unprecedented opportunity for schools that can afford to take it. With all that said, the industry is not unchangeable. Just like trends change as technology improves, the coronavirus has opened the doors to the possibility of a future where I think distance learning is here to stay potentially, for better or for worse. And the schools who are able to make swift but informed decisions and adapt are the schools that stand to gain the most, while schools who are resistant to this kind of change will find themselves quickly left behind. I kind of think of the example of Blockbuster, who laughed the guy who founded Netflix out of their office. It was never going to be viable. We don't want to be in a situation where, because we we didn't want to change with the times or adapt to the times that we are, left behind. And so one of the decisions that you're having to make is whether or not you're going to allow the distance learning, implement virtual tours, continue to enroll students while the physical facilities are unoccupied. And I think for some of you, the decisions have been made for you as situations surrounding COVID-19 are rapidly unfolding. What is true today may not be true tomorrow. So, the advice I'm going to give is some of the stuff that I'm sharing here is our opinions or the way that we've seen things played out. Make sure that you're checking with local, state, as well as the federal government for most current information. Also, make sure you're checking with the state accrediting bodies and the people that accredit your schools to make sure that your students are getting credit for everything that we're talking about here. And so, I've mentioned that a lot. How do you get distance learning? Let's say you make the decision to offer distance learning. You're trying to get the best education out to your students, which I think if you can, you definitely should. The problem many of you face is rolling it out. And you've had to figure out how to take these classes that were happening on, physically in your schools and take them online. And you have to ask yourself, what changes about your lesson plans? How are you going to fill the days with valuable learning when teaching practical skills? Is in many cases off the table, or you're going to have to figure out different ways to do it. And that's where I think for many of you, your existing partners or even new partners could be more useful than ever. Many schools are already partnered with vendors who offer curriculums that can be accessed online, whether you're with Miladies, MindTap. I think Jen mentioned this earlier, Pivot Point with us at Beauty as a Business, and we have our own LMS as well as having our curriculum in Pivot Point, or you're working with Prosper U and the various places you can also get their curriculum. So for those of you that work for any of us or a similar partner that offers this, you may have been able to roll out distance learning very quickly. But to the schools who haven't had the opportunity to work with a vendor that offers these types of services, there's no better time, I think, to make the investment. I've heard of schools who are sending out, to be honest, I've heard of schools that are sending out YouTube videos to their students to watch, send back confirmations that they've watched the videos to try and fill in the distance learning time, or worse, in my opinion, letting schools pick the videos that they watch and they're just reporting back the time that they spent. And I don't know if any of these kids are actually going to get credit for any of that time. Not really my business. I'm not sure how that works, but I can't tell you how many countless hours we've spent at Oozle Media on that side of things, writing blogs and blurbs for our beauty schools that we work with about how licensed beauty professionals you can never be a licensed beauty professional just watching YouTube. So, we definitely want to make sure that we're giving these students the most valuable education that we can. And so what we've done is we've taken our online social media curriculum and we've given away, like I mentioned, nearly 10 hours. We've also added the curriculum to that free section, a very timely course called Posting During a Pandemic, which will help keep your students and other folks that may be running your own social media accounts know how to stay sensitive, not necessarily get in people's face about asking for their business, but promote their relevant and entertaining content while they've got a captive audience at home. And Prosper U is also giving away the 10 hours of curriculum that they went through with the culture and impacting your numbers. In an effort to support all beauty schools, we've made that available, like I said, on the same platform. You can get access to all 20 hours of the coursework at learn.beautyasabusiness.com. Specifically, if you want to get these two courses, learn.beautyasabusiness.com/courses. And we will send out links to both of these courses in the recap email in the next day or two. But one of the great things about these courses is that while they're designed for students to be taken and instructors, they're equipped with discussion prompts and activities that can easily be paused and discussed with the classes. So instructors who familiarize themselves, which Jen mentioned, instructors should be going through these courses. And if you choose to do so, the full courses later on, familiarizing themselves with the material and doing the distance learning while they're translating their existing coursework and lesson plans to a format that makes sense for distance learning. So these things could supplement, get your distance learning online right away. They can be going through the courses and then, in their downtime, be taking the other parts of the curriculum and making them into a way that they can also be teaching via Zoom or Google Hangouts or one of these other ways that they can get in front of their students virtually. But these all come with their own coursework, lesson plans, questions to ask. You can stop the videos, manage the activities. which is important for students to be able to get credit. And I've recently found some things that NACAS has been mentioning, and I'll get to some of that later. But I want to go through how the courses work and how they're set up. This is true for both Beauty as a Business and Prosper You in our LMS, as well as if you're going through Pivot Point or Milady, depending on who you work with. But each course contains a video with a specific subject. So you'll start out, for example, one of the free modules we're giving away is one of the most popular courses in the Beauty as a Business curriculum. Jen also mentioned this, and Jess, the photography and video for your beauty business. So it teaches beauty students and salon professionals how to frame and take proper photos for their social media profiles and accounts, as well as helping them build their portfolio, as well as how to edit them, get the different software to edit them. The other module we're giving away in that curriculum is Chris Linford's Google review training that some of you have probably already experienced, had Chris come out to the schools. It's really entertaining, energetic. It's a lot of fun, to be honest, but it's extremely informative in allowing students to learn how they can build their reputation in the area while also building their books of business. So in each section, they're going to watch the 3 to 5 minute video. Upon completion, they'll be prompted with a thought-provoking discussion prompt. So you can see here, students will need to submit their thoughts to receive credit for the coursework, but instructors conducting the class online through platforms like Zoom can use them to foster meaningful discussion between students. So in addition to submitting them, you guys can be talking about them, have the students talking about them, make it really engaging, yeah. So following the discussion, students will be required to apply what they've learned through a variety of interactive activities. One that I really loved when I was going through Prosper U's courses, when I was getting them uploaded into the learning management system, for example, was to, if I was a student, create a video myself upselling one hair product that I liked or was familiar with, and then having to submit that back, showing how I implemented what I just learned from the video that I just watched. And following each of the discussions and the videos and the application activities, each of the students will be required to pass a short quiz. So after all of the things have been completed, you have to watch the videos to 95%. You have to pass the quizzes with 80% accuracy or higher in order to get the certificate at the end. But you'll see here kind of in this presentation, once you log in, you'll see the course, you'll get the percent complete. You can kind of see the video that you watch, the discussion, the survey, or the apply what you know, and then the quiz. This is what people are going to see on there and once they're logged into the learning management system. Once they do that and they complete those with the right scores and they make it through the videos, they're not just blowing through it to get credit or whatever. They have to actually be paying attention. Each student will receive an independently verified certificate of completion for each 10 hours that they complete for these free courses. So in many states, these certificates will also need to be presented in order for the students to get credit for the coursework they've done. In the last few weeks, I believe the certificate alone was enough for the students to get credit. I've not yet had this confirmed, but I have heard from several schools that NACA specifically is now requiring distance learning to have instructor present for all or most distance learning in order to count these hours. So again, having your instructors there running these classes or courses on Zoom is something that we encourage. They're made for students to go through on their own or with an instructor in the classroom. But yeah, as I mentioned, students can easily review, interact, and learn on their own. So these courses should be perfectly suited for your instructors to implement and run with in the current climate that we're kind of in. We've just announced these free courses in the we just announced the free courses in passing last week, and we've already had over 200 schools express interest and over 500 students who've already enrolled, 20% of which, a little over 20% actually, have already completed these first 10 hours. But in the past year and a half that we've been running Beauty as a Business, we've had thousands of students do it through our LMS, through Pivot Point, and it's really been a proven concept that it's improving the students' abilities to grow their social media, to grow their book of business, and to come out of schools feeling empowered to be successful. So we know it's a course that works. We know it's a course that makes sense in your classroom settings. Right now, what we're doing is, like I said, we've offered this the free part of our course. We are offering, so long as people are having to do distance learning from home throughout this pandemic and the schools are shut down, for current customers and new customers, half off of our entire curriculum. So if you decide that you like it, you want to implement the additional hours, you can do so for $24.50 a seat. Just want to make sure that that was kind of put out there. You knew that that was an option. And you can use these things as a value proposition to prospective students. So on the Oozle Media side of things, we've had many schools who were quick to include distance learning and virtual tours in the paid advertising, mention it on their ads. Some schools have created pages entirely talking entirely about what they are going to teach doing distance learning, how it's going to help them get a jump start on their education for when they can come back into the schools and start on the practical side. We've gotten a lot of interest there. It's a great way to stand apart. You've got competition out there that's not going to have these resources, the ability to get stuff up as quickly. And this is just one way that you can make your business stand out. And so add to your prospective students and from your competition. And so, we know there's a lot of pros and cons to distance learning. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of ambiguity because it's all rolling out so fast. A lot of folks have been quick to kind of jump on the cons. I've heard, despite it being the only option to keep your doors open, some people are still feeling a little resistant to it. But I think in addition to the many positives we've already discussed, another upside to allowing students the opportunity to tackle some of the activities at home is the propensity for them to experiment and critical think in a way that the physical classroom and pressure of other students sometimes discourages. Of course, everyone has their own way of learning, that suits them best. Well, I think some will greatly benefit from distance learning. Some students are going to have a hard time, but this is where instructors can come in and give that encouragement and be a part of the learning process. I can't emphasize enough that these lessons and courses that we as partners are providing are not meant to, supplement or take the jobs of instructors, but to make their lives easier in these crazier times and into the future, helping them out and empowering your students. Your instructors should take these classes. I mentioned that. I really want to drive that home. Know the content, work with the students, and help them understand what they're learning. So I do want to say a huge thank you to Jen and Jessica for jumping on with us from Prosper U, joining us today, providing us with the valuable insight and the great tips there at the end. Thank you for everyone that joined us today. If you're listening in the future, thank you for tuning in. We know everyone is super tired, super stressed, hoping for things to turn back to normal. I definitely know I'm speaking for Prosper U, Oozle Media, Beauty as a Business, when I say that the last thing we want to be really truly is just burdens. We don't want to be burdens. We want to be helps. It's in our best interest as businesses that have dedicated their time and skills and assets to growing your schools, to keep your schools growing and to keep them from going out of business. And so we want to help any way we can. If there's anything that any of us can do for you, your businesses, your students now or in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to make sure that our contact information for both Prosper U and Beauty as a Business is sent out in our recap email after this webinar. So once again, just thank you. I'm going to turn the time back over to Chris. We've got some time now left for a Q&A at the end. We'll answer a couple of the questions and then get wrapped up.
Okay, thank you, Parker. Thank you, Jen and Jessica. We do have a question, and the question that came through the chat was, can they get the certificate if we already use Beauty as a Business on Lab? And so, beauty schools all across the country for the last year and a half have been using Beauty as a Business through Lab. We have partnered with Pivot Point, and so if you're a Pivot Point Lab school, we can get all of our content uploaded into each student's lab account if you're a paid user. So schools have been doing this for a year and a half, and if they're in lab and they're using Beauty as a Business, they're getting credit guaranteed no matter what. And when they do finish the course, they do and can receive a certificate of completion from Beauty as a Business and from their school. And actually, and I think I'll open this up to Jessica and Jen. I know that you guys are close to Eric Fisher Academy. Eric Fisher is a Beauty as a Business school. And when each one of your students graduates, I've seen pictures on your social media that they have a framed kind of like diploma certificate saying they're a graduate of Beauty as a Business. Can you guys speak to that at all and maybe even talk about the experience of Beauty as a Business in your school that way?
Yeah, I unfortunately am not over at the school like I used to be, but I know that the students are going through that course um, really kind of similar to what they do with Prosper U. They're learning the course whenever they're in the classroom, and then the school is using different opportunities for the students to continue to practice that when they're on the floor. So, you know, encouraging all of the students to create professional social media profiles, and really their marketing team will only share the students' work if it's from a professional account. They won't share it if the student's posting to their personal account, just to really make sure that they're representing themselves in an appropriate way, in a professional way. But the students, you know, the school's really great about making sure the students all have their certificates. A lot of students do love to post that, and the school will share any kind of certificate they get upon completion so they can put that into their portfolio. And that's just a really great resume builder for when they're out looking for jobs, because salons, spa, barbershops, they all want to know that these students know more than just the technical side. They want people who know the business side, who know how to market themselves, and social media is a big way to do that. And Beauty as a Business has been a huge partner for Eric Fisher Academy.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Um, Parker, so the other question I think would probably be good for you. How many additional hours do you each offer? Actually, no, that's not it. Let's see. Question, we do this through Zoom with the student shared screen. So how would they get the certificate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to get the certificate, you can still go through Zoom. They should have this up on their computer going through it at the same time so that they can submit the coursework and get the certificate at the end. One thing that we've seen, you know, the certificate isn't the end all be all to getting credit. If you are doing it on Zoom and you're recording the calls you have with students, with the instructors and the students present, then you can take the duration of those calls and count that Zoom call. If it's a 40-minute call, there's 40 minutes right there in credit. And then you do, or if you're doing 3 hours, there's 3 hours right there that they're with the instructor. Same thing as if they were in the classroom with the instructor physically in the building. So that would be my recommendation is if it becomes too cumbersome to have them following along at home while you're also doing it at Zoom or through Zoom, you can just not have them do it at home. Have them do it by submitting stuff via email to you directly, or by just participating directly on the Zoom call, and then using the duration of that Zoom call and the recording of the call to get them credit later down the road. And the important
Yeah.
part is that the students are getting those hours one way or another.
Yeah, so I've talked with instructors, and you know, they're doing Zoom classes, and they're playing the instructor is sharing their screen, playing the video. When a point is made, they'll pause, they'll open it up for discussion. All of that time is on record, and if the students are following along, that's great. To get the certificate, just to be crystal clear on this, the certificate is automatically emailed to each student if they've watched all of the videos in their account, at least 90% of all the videos, and if they've taken and passed all the quizzes with an 80% score or better. If they've done that, they will be emailed a certificate. So if I'm a student and I'm in a Zoom class, I'm following along, and the instructor is playing the video through their account, that's great. But on my own, I have to play those videos, at least 90% of them, take the quizzes to get emailed that certificate. Okay, so we've got some more questions. This is awesome. How many additional hours do you each offer with your program? So let's open that up to Jen and Jess. Tell us about your full program and how we can maybe how people can get schedule a demo to see all of it.
Awesome. So we do have two different options. We have our full version, which is 21 hours, and we do have all of the different fields in there, as I know Parker mentioned earlier. And we also did just launch our fast track. At the moment, it is only digital, and it is for Cosmo and Aesthetics. We're working on getting the barbering, nails, and massage going right now. So you do have different options depending on, you know, what kind of program you have, how many hours you want to implement into it. So we definitely have a lot of different choices.
Thank you. Parker, do you want to take the next question? So it's from Darlene. She says, what if we started these programs? Would our already enrolled students get the same benefits. So I'm thinking, Darlene, are your students previous to this whole COVID-19, were they already enrolled in Beauty as a Business? Is that what you're asking? Parker, are you reading that the same way? Do you want to take a stab at that?
Chris, before we move on to that question, I just wanted to clarify the Beauty as a Business side. Did you want to let them know how many hours Beauty as a Business had if they did the full curriculum?
Yeah. So if you want to see all of what Beauty as a Business offers, you can go to beautyasabusiness.com. Right on the homepage, there's multiple buttons that says schedule a demo. If you schedule a demo, we will, for free, do a screen share with you and show you all of our curriculum, all 20 hours of it. What's available for free is the photography and video and my training that I do in schools on online reviews and why they matter, as well as some other social media best practices. What else we have available is things like Instagram. I mean, we have one full module on Instagram alone, going through very basic setup to advanced strategies, because what we've learned is students, they're familiar with social media, they're doing social media, but they're not thinking strategically about it and how to build a brand. And so that is weaved through all of our lessons: how to build a brand, how to promote yourself, how to do great social media, which is different from good social media. Good social media is talking about ourselves. Great social media is getting other people to talk about us. And so we have Instagram in there. We have one module on its own on Instagram stories and Snapchat, or disappearing content. The most popular course we have is giveaways, contests, and promotions. That is the course that is being rewatched several times by students who go through it. They'll go back and watch it 2 or 3 times again. And then we have a module in there that is on how to build a starter website, not to learn how to code, but drag and drop inexpensive starter websites. Because when I've been in over 100 beauty schools the past 5 years, and always when I ask, hey, who plans on doing their own thing one day? Who's going to be their own boss, start their own thing? 75 to 80% of the class always raises their hands. And then I always get, how do I get my own website? So we have that course in there. What's going to be launched this year very soon is a course on Facebook, strategies there, how to read the data, the insights, how to advertise both on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest. What actually we just released this week is a very relevant course that is free right now, is what your social media strategy should be as a student during isolation or this pandemic. And so that's really relevant to this time. It's about a 23-minute video with a quiz and an activity. So that's in there right now. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of us and schedule a demo, we'd love to do that. beautyasabusiness.com. Okay, Parker, let's move on. This is great. We've got a lot of good questions. We'll take these for however long they come in. So, yeah, Parker, do you want to take that one as far as, if they're already enrolled, how are the students going to get the certificate?
Yeah, so if they're already enrolled in Beauty as a Business and you want them to have the 10 hour, at the conclusion of all the hours, if they complete all 21 hours or 20 hours that are already in Beauty as a Business, there is a different certificate they'll get that certifies all of those hours. If you're just looking for the certificate for those 10 hours, what we'd probably need to have you do is send us the list of emails for those that are already enrolled, the email address they used to enroll. I can go in and certify that they've completed those 10 hours manually and kick them over a certificate that verifies that they've completed the 2 modules that we're giving away.
Parker, do you want to put your email address in the chat? So if schools have enrolled and they want to do that, they can get hold of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll get that in there right now.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. They are watching it through the educator. That might not work. I'll email you later. Thanks, Magda. Hi, Chris. Want me to promote since I love Bab? Yes. Let's see. And Darling had some clarification. What link do I give my students for the free courses? They have already gone through the first 10 hours. Is that the same link for the other 10 hours from Prosper U? Great question. So that is a different link. The link that students have been going through to get Beauty as a Business is separate from Prosper U's. And so if you look in the chat, I actually put a link in there for learn.beauty as a business. If you go there, you'll see Beauty as a Businesses, and then you will see Prosper U's. Parker, do you want to put those links in there, those separate links that will take you directly to Beauty as a Business and directly to Prosper U?
I will put the same link I put in earlier, the learn.beautyasabusiness.com. They're both the first two options there. It's the easiest way for everyone to get there. So your students if they've already done the Beauty as a Business, want to go do Prosper U, this link, they can use the same email address, same login. There'll just be one button they've got to push that says enroll now if they're logged in, and it will add it to their list. And then they can just start watching those videos right away. So again, I'm going to make sure I spelled this right, but that's just learn.beautyasabusiness.com.
Yeah, I want to go back to Jennifer. I think, Jennifer, is that you from Moored Beauty Schools who commented that you love beauty as a business? I'm pretty sure that's you. Yes, that is you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to give you audio and video access, although you're not a panelist and we can't during this time, but maybe you can chat your email in there, or a way to get a hold of you if schools have questions and they want to talk to a school using Beauty as a Business. And if you're a Prosper U school too, if you're using Prosper U, put your contact in there as well, so these other schools can call you and see how your students are enjoying, or what their thoughts are on Prosper U. I've talked to a lot of schools who use Prosper U, and I know they love it. They've been using it for many years. Prosper U has been around a lot longer than Beauty as a Business. Okay.
Chris, did you answer the question from Rebecca on what the cost would be?
No. So the cost right now for all of Beauty as a Business, so if you want all 20 hours, it's half price. It's $24.50. So now's the time to buy. You can get all of the 20 hours, and if you do that, if you're a lab partner school, we can get uploaded in Pivot Point Lab. If you're a MindTap and you want to pay for all of the access, we can make sure we get all the links in there, and we'll go to our LMS. What about Prosper U? Jen, Jess, maybe it's not a good, if you want to talk about pricing, or maybe if you have some deals going on right now, if schools want to take advantage of your full curriculum.
Yeah, we have actually been visiting with Eric quite a bit. We don't have anything to announce yet as far as specials for schools who are looking to continue on after doing the free 10 hours. But our normal 21-hour program, if you wanted to go all digital, is $175 per student. That's not only just the classroom material, but it's a lot of education for them when they're on the clinic floor. We do have a financial tracker app for them to track their numbers that you set goals with, different things for them to actually manage their clients, so that as a school you can see some increases and not just the students see increases. And then we have that fast track version that Jen was talking about, that's just for cosmetology and aesthetics right now, that's at a $99 price point, that is all digital.
And one thing that does come with the full version, we do have a client success specialist. So you get, monthly coaching calls to help work with you on your own clinic floor numbers. Because if your students are putting everything into action that we're teaching, everybody wins. They'll build good habits to take with them, but then your school is going to see a good increase in their numbers as well.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to talk about even the support, the support that's added for people who are paying for the full curriculum. Jen and Jess, what is the best way to contact you if they are interested in setting up a demo? Is that your emails? Will you guys post those in the chat, or maybe even a link so that people can get a hold of you easily?
Yeah, I'll post my email in the chat. You can email me at any time, and that's definitely the best way to get a hold of me at the moment.
Yeah. So there is a question about NACAS, how they feel about this program. So I'll just reiterate that the Beauty as a Business has been adopted in beauty schools all across the country for over 1.5 years. And so it's accepted and has been accepted by NACAS as a a credible curriculum. Right now, during these times, I think what I've been told by multiple school owners is, yes, this is going to work. The certificate is great. We're going to use that. We're going to have instructors with students, be counting those hours. It seems to me that schools kind of have, it's up to their discretion of what they teach as far as their business classes. I know many schools have their own business curriculum. Some already have a social media curriculum and classes that they do, and those are counted towards credit hours. It's definitely something to think about for sure. I mean, if you have a contact at NACIS, obviously you can get them in touch with us. This webinar is being recorded; they can watch it. But it has been adopted by beauty schools for over a year and a half, and been counting towards their credit hours.
And Chris, just to jump in here, the free version has some limitations and I think this is where the concern is coming from. We're using the certificate, and hopefully schools are doing that in tandem with the Zoom, classes. But for schools that are partnered with Milady or with Pivot Point, right now our curriculum is only available through our LMS or Pivot Point, not through Milady. But for schools that are working with Pivot Point or Milady, those do have internal trackers that our free versions do not, that track hours people are spent logged in, spending the minutes. And so if they are doing it through either of those platforms, then there should be no issue, or it shouldn't be any different than any of the other things that they're learning through both of those platforms, through MindTap or through Lab. So again, if you do get the full paid version through Pivot Point, or you do the full paid version through us, we can offer additional support in making sure that those hours are completed. These 10 hours right now, we are relying on their certificate and the tandem teaching via Zoom and those records to ensure that students are getting credit for the courses. Now, what I did hear is this is going to be something that they're moving forward. They're going to be enforcing. I heard that from one of the schools I was talking on the phone with yesterday, that for the ways that schools have been tackling things up to this point, they're going to just blanket allow, because there was no official word one way or another. And again, I would clarify that with an actual representative from NACIS, but that was what one of the schools I was speaking with yesterday shared with me.
Thanks, Parker. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. I'm going to chat there in the chat a place to follow Beauty as a Business. We have a very, very active Instagram page. We release daily tips and tricks for marketing for beauty professionals. And so we have a lot of activity from our followers. A lot of students love to follow us. And we have a lot of free stuff on there, a lot of very timely things that are happening in the social media world. So I would encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram. Is there anywhere on social media we can follow Prosper You, Jen and Jess, before we sign off? Or what's the best way to kind of keep updated with what you guys are doing? Oh, there it is. My Prosper You on Instagram. Perfect. Okay, well, I think that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Special thanks to Jen and Jess from Prosper You. We love you, and thanks to Parker for your preparation and putting this together. Again, this is being recorded, and either tonight or tomorrow we will send a link to everybody with this recording. So we're going to sign off. Thanks for being here. We love everybody. We love this community, and we wish everybody good health and safety, and we're going to get through this together, and things will normalize soon. So stay safe, everyone. Thank you.